All right, so let me share the screen. We're gonna go right here. Go live. It's probably you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but I'll do my best. Um, so preface this.
You dropped the link though, right?
Yeah, it's in the government chat. So preface this. Made some sweeping changes until better solutions come out. Like this was the model I came up with that I think will work for the time being. Uh, establish a definition of core team members and core contributor members in order to help push proposals and agendas and progress along and kind of defined it. So the I guess a lot of the stuff will remain the same. I just kind of cleaned up some things. Voting is going to be done by quadratic voting, but I specified unless otherwise defined by other ratified frameworks as a in case other frameworks need to be done otherwise because that like the just in case. So I left that out for people. Proposals are same scenario. The big thing that I've done is I kind of defined how we can get a proposal to be submitted for a vote. This was my grand solution after mulling it over. I defined two camps of people. You have core team members and you have core contributor members. Core team member is basically the person who has access to the multi-sig. Simple as that. If you're a core team member, as if you have any aspect or control to the multi-sig, and a core contributor member is somebody defined, designated by the core team as somebody as in good standing and has been helpful in the community. And the core team has the ability by majority to both appoint and remove core contributors as long as it's held in an open forum. The added idea of in this framework is that I left it super broad and open, so that way you don't have to keep making addendums or amendments to this framework itself every time there's a change in either core team member or core contributor. I left it just I pointed it. I use this a lot where I point to other areas so that we don't have to keep making like amendments for minor changes into this. So we can always just update it there. We don't need to because we don't want to keep putting stuff on snapshot for every amendment. So that was one idea. The specified core team has the ability by a majority vote in a public forum to designate members of the DAO community as a core contributor. Defined member of the DAO community is someone who is in both good standing with the community and is a verified owner of DAO. Should a core contributor no longer be in possession of a DAO, they will cease being a core contributor. Self-explanatory, just in case. And should a member of the core team no longer be in possession of a DAO, they will relinquish their rights and access to the DAO treasury. Just kind of super kept that in there just in case whatever happens, just to help us. The core team shall have the ability by a majority vote in the public forum to remove a contributor from said tile, and members of the and this is the pointer that I was referencing. Members of the core team and members designated as core contributors shall be listed on DAO's IO and in Discord. Keep it open and public. Who's who for it? I couldn't think of another way to help kind of both specify who's what, like who has like what kind of power, and also kind of like show that like you like how to approach people to help push proposals. That was the basic idea I had in order to help move things forward. But if anybody has any other alternatives, I'm open to it. But that was the best solution I had. So with that said, the actual governance, like the substance of what actually goes in here. So I kept a lot of things. A lot of the things were still in there. Big thing is I put a link to a proposal template. I'm gonna just pull this up. It's super simple. Feel free to add comments on what it is, but each proposal we should follow this template. It includes the title of what the proposal is, who authored it, provide name, Discord, email, Twitter information as well, and who of the core team or who of the core contributor endorsed it. This helps kind of like cut down not who is like, not every idea is actually going to go up for a vote, but if any good ideas that we want to put up for there, this is the path forward. Have to provide an app.
Okay, so it's like an endorsement model.
Yeah, so yeah, like an endorsement model. You provide each proposal has to provide an abstract. This is basically the TLDR, detailed description. This is the full meat and the bones of it. Relevant links, anything that you want to point to as supplemental into it, you would put here. And then I had this idea, but I don't know if Snapshot allows you to just do anything beyond approve or disapprove. If you can only do approve or deny, then like this is kind of a moot. But I left this in just in case if like you had if a proposal was not had to be more specified than just approve or deny. If it had to be something more than that, you would have to state that here. That's what I meant by voting options. So, like I said, what are approve or reject, or approve option A, or approve option B, or reject. Because most some proposals, especially like the one I'm working on for the copyright issue, ideally my goal would be to have all options available at one time for everybody to consider, and then we go with that. But if Snapshot doesn't allow that, then that's a different story. Then we can change that. But that's the gist of what I had so far, and I kind of like took this idea a lot from Cult DAO and what they require in their information from it, and I just added some more stuff just in case. But this is the rough template. So,
As far as choice voting goes, we demonstrated that's possible already. I mean, we had so many different choices for candidates.
Okay, yeah. So I guess so you're right. That works. All right. So here's something. Yes.
Can we have some? So I would include execution instructions in there. So if it's a multi-sig transaction that's getting voted on, having explicit instructions for the co-signers as far as exactly what address is being transacted to, so that there's no room for interpretation there. You just like, because sometimes you just like make a vague statement like, oh, let's invest our treasury in DeFi. It's like, no, like we need to be voting on exactly what the co-signers are going to execute on. So we're voting on, we're going to, put this much money into, a yield platform, this specific yield platform, and like that.
So I thought of that, but also like the idea is that whoever is endorsing it, you endorse the proposal as it's written. So if the person who like any of the core team or core contributor is endorsing the proposal as it's written, if they ideally whoever's endorsing it would not approve of like super vague language of that. So to help kind of like mitigate that, we can.
Well, they might approve it if it benefits them.
That's true. Okay, I will. That's okay. I'll make
like there's the details is like descriptive details, but then there's like a explicit execution that like if this is approved, this is exactly what's going to happen, kind of thing. I mean, it could be included in the voting options. Could include like if approved, then this explicit execution process is what will occur. Just like a very concise and clear description of exactly what the implications of an approval are going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My initial instinct is to say, do we just have it, have one of these, initial options say financial or non-financial proposal. And if it is financial, then you have, then we have a template for, specific transaction details. Or is that just getting too unnecessary?
To also his point, to Michael's point, I I also while treasury aspects are important, anything related to the treasury should be written and specified in the treasury framework itself. So I would like my goal in this was to push anything that is not specifically governance and could be lumped in another framework to put it in there, and just point to like follow rules related to treasury, like anything that's related to treasury aspects of it has to be followed by the rules of the treasury framework. But I see that
Oh,
we
I see.
like try to minimize exactly the overreach between the different frameworks of how to handle things. I don't know if that's like the best option, but it was an option in order for me to help write parts of this one at a time and present it to you guys. So if you guys want to see more details related to treasury in here, that's fine. Like we can work on that, but know that like the next aspect of we're going to work on is aspects related to how do we handle treasury things. So I don't want to have a lot of reiterating or like aspects, things that like would be in the treasury document in here when we could just hold off on it. But I made the note for in the proposal to include explicit treasury transaction processes for right now. And we if you guys have any other comments, like I'll make a note about that to see if we can update it and include it. But no, thank you for that.
For example, something that's like necessarily within the scope of a treasury framework, but is still a financial transaction, would be like this recent DreamDAO proposal. Like if that would have become like a snapshot vote, it should include the specific address that we would be sending ETH to. It not just say this proposal is to send this much ETH to DreamDAO. It'd be like specifically we're going to send it to this address, and that gives everybody the chance to do like due diligence and be like
audit it.
are we getting rugged? Like, are you telling us we're sending this to DreamDAO, but you're actually going to send it to like so such and so forth, like, or like then the multi-sig like cosigners then have to do an additional level of research after the thing passes to figure out like what address they're actually sending the money to. You know what I mean? Like the proposal needs to include the specific transaction details. That's kind of all I'm saying.
No, here this is where I was looking for. It's still in here. Your proposals concerning treasury management must include explicit instructions for the core team on how to execute the results. So, I think that should cover it.
Okay, so you're just not going to put that in the proposal template. It'll just be in the thing, and people have to kind of.
And then in the template, include explicit treasury transaction process.
Yeah, that could be in the detailed description section.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right. Okay. So the next thing is how do you get a proposal off from from a document into a snapshot? This was my idea. A proposal can be submitted for a vote if it is either endorsed by at least one member of the core team or at least two core contributors, not inclusive of the persons who drafted or authored the proposal. So this helps solve two things. One, the person who writes it can't automatically just push it to Snapshot. That should solve that. I said two core contributors because I think in the future, eventually we'll have a lot of core contributors if this kind of blows, like the group blows up, in that sense. So, we would have at least two people who are really familiar with like what's going on, can kind of help push things forward. That was my idea. But I am open to the idea of like adjusting these numbers as well. But this was just a quick idea of what I had.
I kind of like that because, like, to reference the DreamDAO situation again, it's like, okay, one of the contributors, myself, pushed a temperature check, and the temperature check passed. But then there's this, you also have to go through the endorsement. So if we went through that and then we talked about it, and then I can't get two more core contributors or team members to sponsor it, then it can't get pushed to a snapshot vote.
Yeah.
Which kind of like helps with that kind of a situation where you get the community voting on something that they just felt kind of affirmative voting about,
Right.
and
Affirmative
you know,
voting, yeah.
you get like an extra layer of like due diligence
Yeah.
opportunity before it actually goes up for vote.
Exactly. The idea is that like if you I'm putting a lot of extra weight on a core team because if, like I said, if you're a core team member, you have access to the multi-sig. By virtue of being access to the treasury, it is your responsibility to ensure that we don't like fuck up. Like you have a very vested interest in how the money, like how we go. Core contributors are basically your people that like we want, like this is how we think that this should go. There could, like in the future, we could have a contention between, you know, maybe a coup of core contributors to core team, but I purposely left that out for the time being. So we'll see how that goes. But it was something that I did think about at length, but I left it out because I didn't think it was necessary at this time. And then voting. I kept it real. I did a lot of pointers, like what I call when I call pointers of what actually goes for a vote. Changes to governance framework, treasury management framework, grants framework, and any other ratified frameworks. Just keep it there. We can build, like, I don't know what we're going to build in the future, but just like if we do build something else, that's where it's going to be covered. Any transaction of the treasury not explicitly granted by the treasury management, that should be framework. The addition or removal of core team members, super simple. Like you have, in order, like I think that's a right of the community. If somebody to have access to the wallet, it has to be any changes to the core team has to be done by snapshot. This I left in. Changes directed towards the alienability of rights of an owner of a DAO Punk NFT. I think that that's a pretty self-explanatory, or like, you know, anything that would impact anybody's rights of how their ownership is related to it, that would be important. That's kind of goes into the whole what I'm trying to also propose with the copyright aspects of it. Let's see. Proposals endorsed, this is right here. Proposals endorsed by either at least one member of the core team or at least two core contributors help kind of re-solidify that. Like once you have endorsements, like then it goes up for snapshot. And then lastly, other ratified frameworks as defined therein. So that way, if this allows us to give the right to other frameworks that we publish or we ratify, if we need to have something go up for a snapshot, we can define it in there, and this is the rule that helps allow us to do that. Super simple, and I think I hit everything. The idea is to keep it as simplistic as possible, but it seems to I think I hit all the issues of what we would address, and I think I kind of like solved. I kind of like helped define things and keep it in a nice little package. I worked on the TLDR a little bit. TLDR proposals need to be endorsed either by members of the core team or core contributors before being sent for snapshot. Define who is a member of the core team and a core contributor. Define the process for adding and removing members of the core team and someone who is a core contributor. And set up guidelines for proposals and what needs to be sent for a snapshot vote. That's it. I think that was it. That's what I've got for it. There might be some spelling errors. There might be some other like grammar aspects of it related to it, but that's it. I think I kind of hit everything. I cut out a lot of what I considered as noise. In here, you can see like a lot of the strike throughs. It's either a lot of the other aspects of it kind of overlap with the things that I took out. But that's it. What do you guys think? Or do you? I understand that you'll probably need more time than just like my. Oh shit! It was already been an hour. I'm sorry. My.
No, half an hour.
Oh.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm super appreciative of the work that you've put into this, and and I like the conciseness of just kind of describing what is basically already happening, where there's a core team who are the co-signers and there's core contributors who are core contributors, right? And they have a large influence on things, but they're not, co-signers. Um, and yeah, I like it. And I've been
Am I rugged or is Michael
I
rugged?
think Michael wrote.
Rug alert. Yeah, sorry, Michael. You're at like 2 kilobits a second right now.
I like it. I think it sounds good. I guess so. How would we, other than there's an obvious question I think we already know, but how would we pick the core contributors to go forward with this? Would we just basically just say, okay, here they are, and
Yeah. So much like, I mean, if right now this isn't in effect, so you guys have it's up to you how you want to handle it. I mean, if you guys want to handle it with the intent of following this guideline, then like you three, well, obviously Bushi, Hiro, and then Sinjin, obviously as you're the core team. So you would have to like you three would just be like we agree and like put it in like a chat. We would have like a chat specifically for like in there, and that would be the public forum that just says we hereby designate and vote to approve that these people are core contributors, and then that's it. We would maybe give them a title or a tag in Discord to help kind of like signify it, ideally, and also kind of like put it on our like I also pointed to our website because fix our website would like that's also an end game goal of mine is to update that, make it look relevant. And that's it. I mean, right? But like until this gets passed, like you guys can just do whatever you want. Like we have no rules, so we can just make a title.
I guess the question he's asking is, well, if a bunch of complete strangers are stepping into this from, no history, no back, if they're just stepping in fresh, how and when does that selection take place? Is it time based? Is it like every year they're reviewed? Is it every,
Nope.
you know,
Nope. I left it purposely ambiguous.
completely arbitrary?
You could just it's completely arbitrary when you want to do it. You just have to three members of the core team just have to vote and agree on who becomes a core contributor, and you can just put it in a public forum. I did not want to specify time gaps, length of time. That's that's I didn't think that was necessary. That's not really necessary, and it just adds more administrative work to it. At any given time, you guys could because I don't want in the future to be bogged down by administrative processes that like this, where it would be just easier to just things that you need to do things especially in a quick manner. Like we need to have like a quick vote, 3 people. Like right now we have 5 members of the core team. You only need a majority, so you need three of you. Just go into the channel, put it in there that like we hereby announce that like us 3 vote to approve this person to be core contributor, and then like, hey, like we need you to do this because we trust you for these things. Like you put more responsibility on the core team to ensure who they're nominating is there.
And how about
Are they appointed by like unanimous consensus by the core team or by majority vote of core contributors and core team?
The core I'm whoever's a core so I left it right. Only core contributors can be added or removed by majority of the core team. So right now we have five members of the core team, where the core team is defined by who has access to the treasury. So that would be the 3 out of the 5 there. So, but in the future, if you guys want to add or remove more members of the of the core team to have access to the multi-sig for whatever reason you determine, that we can that also helps. That will also impact the level of what needs to go there. It's I try to keep everything as like like you want to have like the majority of it, but you don't want to have too many, like only have like one person have too much power. But I and I didn't want to, and like I talked to Hero about this like last week, about like how many, as long my understanding of this also is that like the multi-sig wallet for our address can be adapted to change based on, you can add or remove more people to have access to it as like pretty somewhat easily, as best as I understood. So that shouldn't be too big of a problem, unless I'm mistaken.
I don't know the tech, but I assume it's not too difficult, but definitely requires some careful paying attention to. Don't accidentally, give away the
Oh,
keys.
that's that's, and again, that's why it's written like this. If you're a core team member, you have a huge responsibility. Like like you have a responsibility to the community, to you have a lot of power, and that's like it should be reflective of that. But it should also be reflective of who those people are, and kind of like also bestow like a certain level of like like power to the people who are core contributors, as well. This was my mentality. This was my idea. Like I said, this was my take on it. Not necessarily saying that like this is the best way. This is a way, but it also seemed to fit.
And so we still have like Kuros and Grendel on the multisig, right? Like, are they considered core team members? And or do we also want more cosigners on the multisig? Or are we happy with that as it is?
I mean, I want to read this thing so it's not red lines, so you can actually kind of read it. But I think, my initial sense is and I've talked about this. I don't really like the core team, core contributor distinction very much. I think I'd probably just add whatever you consider like core, either the core team or core contributors or some other term you would pick. And then have all those people in the multi-sig and just have kind of one level of existence. You could still sort of have, I don't know, I'm kind of like more interested in flatter organizations, and not necessarily non-hierarchical per se, but does everybody who's a core contributor also become a community manager, or can we just call core contributors community managers? I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking about those distinctions as you're talking, Live Fast and Maiko and Garrett, and then wondering, I'm not like so hard on it that I care enough to like choke the process up, but I just wonder if there's better terminology we can use, and then you expand the multi-sig to include those people, and if we're ready for that. So just thoughts to throw out there for feedback.
Yeah, I agree. Like if we go with this, the titles that we have in our Discord alone will probably need to be updated. Although they probably we have so many tags that it probably is about time that we consider it. I also, like I said, I made the core. If you have a better term for core team, core contributor, those are the things that I picked because it made the most sense. It's not like the most. It's the most cliche phrase that you describe it, but I also wanted to really hound in on the responsibility that people have if you have these other tasks. Like you have access to the multi-sig. I was like, you should be paying attention, and that's my belief. Like, because if you're not, like, if you have access to the multi-sig and you're not doing anything, then why do you have access? Because you're just basically dead weight at that point. Like,
not necessarily. Like there is like benefit to having outsiders on the multi-sig, like outside trusted figures, because you don't necessarily need to have a contributor role. Like for example, in movement, we have this interesting model where we encourage movements to put public figures on their multi-sig, even if they're not involved in the project at all, because their public reputation has a certain value to it, that they wouldn't want to lose by betraying like their duty as a cosigner. But if it's like a random outsider, that's different, right? But maybe these are two people who have like positive reputations within like the Bankless DAO community. Um, and, maybe they were more involved early on and it makes sense to cycle them out if they're just like not interested anymore. But I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah.
I also kind of agree that maybe it could just be a single level. And I was curious, like, is there a function to having these two separate groups of core contributors versus core team as like a checks and balances kind of a thing? Or does it just create like unnecessary like hierarchy?
It might be unnecessary hierarchy. There's no balance. So like in the event that like the core team just like doesn't want to validate any treasury transactions, there is no like governance aspect where the core contributors can affect members of the core team. I didn't write something like that in yet because I didn't know if it was needed to like have in like some type of language for like hostile takeover of the core team. And I don't even know how that would work in practicality other than on paper. Like it says like we write a statement of like how a core contributor can get like access to be like the treasury other than like I don't even know how that would work in like an actual reality other than like you would just write something in paper. But so I didn't include it in because I couldn't think of a way.
I mean, my first impression of it was that the nature of the core contributor role is essentially the power to endorse a proposal.
Exactly.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm thinking is, does it have to come from the signatories, like the guys who handle the multi-sig, or does it come from the community? I guess that's where I might be seeing like what Hero is saying, where we don't necessarily want it super hierarchical. That's a hard word. Sorry. Where it's like, just a few people can decide who's allowed to endorse or who isn't.
Yeah, I mean that's another. I mean, I agree, and I do find that part a little problematic too. Is like because it strikes me that any DAO Punk holders, regardless of sort of designations made by core teams or otherwise, would only have the sole ability to propose things to go on Snapshot. All things considered. So, yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of two things I think we need to think more about, right? Proposal process, and then how is that gated and why? And then these levels of distinction between core team and core contributors. I also don't really feel comfortable like nominating core contributors in channels. And I find that process a little exclusionary just for its own sake. And so I think I'd be really interested, and I've said this to CV before, like, and everybody here is on this list, so like that list that we did to look at candidates for cohort 0, we're all in a group DM. And I said at some point, I think in a DM to CV or something like, hey, it would be sweet if we could just make this like a core team channel, but with a better name than core team. Because in my mind, that's who is here and building, right? And so it's like the 7 of us, Core Sinjin is added into that. And is it any more than the 8 of us who are part of that DM? I think maybe there's one more, maybe not. So, I mean, you could spin up an 8 or 9 signature multi-sig. Everybody's on it. There's no levels and distinctions. You could still have different Discord permissions or not. Super mods and mods. That's just things for COOK to figure out in terms of how we can deal with permissions. But it strikes me that, like, this is a good time to make more or less everyone who's been participating for these last 5 or 6 months on the same plane in terms of whatever the nominal roles are in Discord and otherwise. And then also, I think in that same process, like you can have some kind of proposal endorsement system, but I definitely think you should have community members leading it as well, and not just, the 8 of us.
I will also say that while I agree, the way I wrote it was with the intent that this will not, like, our little group of people, our little club, will not exist forever. Like, it will not always be the 8 of us. And when we get back to 100 people, like, we're gonna want we're gonna want people that we can push other responsibilities to, and they can help us
sure.
with it. So that's why it's written this like this. It's not written. It sounds. It's a little. It sounds a little like odd for such a small group. But if we get big, like we have that distinction now. We'll have that distinction then, and like it'll help us later. But like I mean, like for
I'm not opposed to fastest real quick. I mean, I'm not opposed to like a
oh.
process by which people become like multi-sig holders, or you know, whatever, like, you know, different levels within community for recognition or anything like that. I do think that like the 8, or again, I can't remember, there's 8 or 9 people in that chat. I think it's 8, you know, do become that without some kind of vote, right? Like that's just what you are now. And that's cool. Fine. And then you have a process by which other people can be brought into that circle. Like that's cool too. I mean, I don't think you want to end up with a 20-person multi-sig, right? So you got to kind of draw it somewhere.
So yeah, you have like you draw.
I think like initially though, you sort of maybe do that, and you do keep it, you know, so there's not a core team, core contributor distinction. You know, maybe core contributors is the right word for everybody. You know, I mean, you know, CB and Sinjin can have, of course, the DAO-Punk artist tags, and figure out the tagging. I know that a lot of the tagging is the way it is for security reasons when we had to go through that. But like, I'm sure there's a way to part it down. And then, I don't know, you know, I think I'm just kind of talking more about feelings than anything in particular, but that's what I would like to see anyway, right? Like no core team, no core contributor distinctions, more multi-sigs. I think that, you know, Grendel and Chorus could get off the multi-sig. That's fine with me. And then you guys could come on. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
the other thing is that the other thing I will say, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, like we need to come up with something. And absence of like any other alternative, I'm open to suggestions. You know, like I just, you know, we gotta, you know, it feels like now's the time that we gotta kind of like see how this goes. And if it doesn't work, we'll make like, you know, follow the rules and make changes as it needs be. It's not the end of the world. It's not like, you know.
I mean, are you saying just ratify the thing that you wrote without any consideration because it's here?
No,
I mean,
I think that like if you know, we talk it over, but if like, you know, the idea is that like if you guys think that like you want to have it like an alternative because you think something else is like looks like is a better way, I'm open to it, but it needs to kind of like be fleshed out. It can't be more abstract. Does that, you know?
I think that the Kiro's suggestion might be a little bit, it's like cleaner because it doesn't necessitate like separate group identities. It just puts all core members into one. You know, it just basically increases the number of co-signers instead of having 2 separate groups of core contributors versus core team members, which, you know, I think, and it doesn't change much else about it. You can kind of go about it in the same way. So I'd be on board. I'd be on board with that. I think that sounds about right.
Other thoughts?
I don't know. You know, I don't expect any other thoughts right now. You guys can, you know, you guys can think about it some more. Please do. I mean, and then just, you know, make notes. Tell me what you think, and then like, you know, or like point holes and flaws in it. Like, I have no idea how well this will work. This was just, like I said, this is all just an idea of how I thought that this could go. That would be easy and make sense.
I mean, live fast. The draft is good. I mean, but I just think that. I mean, I'll tell you what I'll just do. I mean, I'll accept all of the revisions in your draft, and then I'll just draft on top of that, and then you'll have 2 things to look at. Right.
Okay. I mean, yeah. If you, yeah. I'm.
Are you feeling? I mean this in the most loving way possible. Live fast. Are you feeling attached to your ideas, and it's hard to take modifications to them?
Nope, not at all.
Or you just feel like, holy shit, can we get some forward progress? And if you're talking about wanting to change the thoughts that I have on paper, get on it, son.
Yeah, latter. Like,
okay, I'm just trying to be clear. Yeah. You know, I don't blame you. I don't blame you on either account. I was just trying to understand where you're coming from. Okay. So then I'm happy to do that and then try to soften it to language that Mike and I are talking about. But I would like, I said, like other input from,
Yeah,
Double B, Garrett, CB, Mina,
uh, as always, I do not speak for the community. It is just an idea or a suggestion I had.
Yes, you did great, dude. You took this thing and you consolidated it down to concise language, and now it's just kind of getting in the details of it. Like this is just it. I mean, no one wants it to sit for 6 months. I just think that we could probably look at another version that maybe has the core distinction, core contributor model, sort of collapsed onto itself, and then maybe in that same vein, because the main mechanism by which proposals are submitted to Snapshot gets modified a bit. But I don't think there's a lot less to change than that. I think the work you did is awesome.
Cool.
I think I just have a little different thing, and maybe I can speak for Micah. We have a little different thing in our head that doesn't have that core team, core contributor distinction.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's my real issue, right?
Yeah. I looked real hard at other community. I kind of looked and thought about it like in other aspects of life. Like how do you do things? And I really couldn't think of any other. I really couldn't think of any model that would work. And like I said, I don't know if this will I don't know how well this will work, but on paper it seems to work pretty well. And it's just from experience. So yeah, that's it. I mean, and that's an entirety. The other thing is that like I said, my goal of this meeting was to do sections 1, and I ended up doing section 2 by nature of trying to finish section 1. So that's all I have for you guys. Please comment, write up, talk about it, think about it. Let me know what your thoughts are, what we can do. I'm not expecting an immediate this goes up for ratification at all. I want this is more of more discussion to try and see what we think is good.
Yeah, I think it's great work. We're definitely on the right path, and governance always seems to be the sticking point in everything right now. So, but I definitely recommend you guys go listen to that podcast too. You guys might get some interesting thoughts after that too.
Stevie, what are your thoughts on that core team, core contributor distinction? I mean, just generally.
I agree too. I don't really like core team type stuff because I think it just gives other people the excuse to not do anything. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not a part of the core team, so I don't need to worry about doing anything. But I guess it also creates a situation where people want to work towards something as well. So I guess that could be the counter argument on that. But yeah, I never really liked that either. I think really the most basic level was okay, we have all this money and we need some people that we trust who aren't going to try to steal it. And so those people are going to be the people that are on the multi-signers right now. And that's been the way it is. I mean, that's why Grendel and Koros, yeah, they don't do anything over here, but I trust them implicitly. So I know that they wouldn't try to steal the money, even though they really couldn't, because they still would need a 3 votes. But it was really as simple as that. And I feel that trust with you guys too. So, I mean, there's no reason why we can't take them off the multi-sig and bring on all of you guys as well. Cause I believe that none of you would try to steal the money either. So we're making progress.
Yeah.
That's the most simple thing is how do we put people in a position of power while also making sure that something doesn't go wrong and either maliciously on their behalf, or maybe somebody maliciously gained access into some of their stuff, and how that can't be used on us. And so the 2 vectors we have to always be really watching out for is A, the multi-sig where all the money is, and then B, Discord. So if as we start to give more admin permissions to people, that just creates more potential attack vectors. And so we just have to always be kind of careful of that, which I don't really think our Discord is a target at this point, but it could be.
I'm just having this idea right now. The other option that we could do, and you would just have something not core, something just at the core contribution level. You just have Dalpunk contributor, and you remove the attachment to the multisig and you put them separate put them as defined in the Treasury framework, and you would just have a blanket that just says, any any contributor can pitch up a proposal for there, and but like how would like. But we wouldn't be able to give that title willy nilly. We would probably have to want to put them up for. Do we have because then it becomes like, do you want to put them up for snapshot? Like each addition or removal has to be done by snapshot. That's a tough call. But maybe that's what you would need to do. I don't know. But then it's still more centralized. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll see if I can come up with a good alternative as well. And like what that looks like in its entirety.
Yeah, listen to that podcast, dude. They have this concept of like pods or something like that.
There's also, also part of this is that like this model is very, very hard to like kind of solidify, or at least it was hard for me to figure out a methodology for it because we don't have a token, and I don't think we're ready to create a governance token because I feel like that's not we're not there yet, and we're not ready for that. So because if we have a governance token, then like that changes, like we can follow all these other different types of models.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Models aren't really working, so people might be moving away from those models.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so lift fast. Here's what I'm noticing is that like there's the function of sponsoring, or what was the word that you were using?
Endorsing.
Endorsing, yeah. So basically, like the act of endorsing could be authoring the proposal on Snapshot. So basically, you eliminate the need to have a classification of contributor by just saying everyone is a contributor if you're contributing, and you don't need to have like a role stated as such. And everyone can, write up a proposal, and it needs the endorsement of a multi-sig cosigner who also, all of those people would also share authorship on Snapshot. So the act of endorsing the proposal is the act of authoring it, of putting it on Snapshot. Because like that's necessary anyway, is to distinguish like who has permissions to author on Snapshot. And whoever has permission to author on Snapshot would basically be a person who needs to endorse a proposal.
Oh, okay. So
does that make?
Yeah, I think I follow. There's a problem. The use of similar terminology in two different things may cause confusion of it, and they may bleed over into one or the other. That's it.
Well, no, I'm just saying that like you can kind of feed two birds with one handful of grain here, and eliminate complexity by just acknowledging that like because you have limited authorship permissions anyway, whoever you give Snapshot permissions to are going to be whatever that sort of distinguished role is that is required to endorse a proposal.
Okay, then yeah. Also said another way is like whoever. Yeah. That's another. But how do we decide that?
Michael, can I paraphrase you just so I can be sure I understand?
Yeah, I think I'm not saying it very eloquently, but
I just want to be sure that I know what you're saying, and I think I do. But let me see. So basically, I'll just use the 8 of us as an example, right? Like the 8 of us who are part of that group DM are all multi-sig signers, and we all have authorship rights on Snapshot, right? And so the way that the proposal process would work would be that community member has a proposal. They want to see it go to Snapshot. And if one of us who are, I think you always have Snapshot and the multi-sig lineup in terms of authorship and signatory capacity. But then you also, like, one of us could go and essentially put the proposal into Snapshot, and that would act as the endorsement as well. But is that what you're saying, Micah?
yeah, that's exactly right.
And then does it automatically go to vote if you have one author?
Oh.
That's the part where I just had a question, Micah.
I guess that's the problem with that model. If we want there to be multiple endorsers on a proposal, then it's not as streamlined a
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, but you could still build that into governance.
You could. It's not a bad governance move generally, right? Because you're obviously the people who are on the multi-sig should be aligned with what's happening on Snapshot and vice versa, which kind of solves some other issues. I would want to see probably, like more than one person coming to an agreement that something can go on a Snapshot. But I guess we could talk about that. It's interesting. Yeah.
If we move to a 1-tier model, I would probably push for at least then a 1-tier model that's not controlling of the multi-sig. Just like I haven't like this again. This is just me on the cuff thinking. I would probably push for you would need at least two people to endorse any proposal.
Correct.
At that point, maybe more.
Totally. I agree.
And then regardless of who authors it on Snapshot, the proposal template would have to specify here in this section exactly who the two people endorsing it are. You would and like that is the measure of who reviewed this to say this is a good idea.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's totally right. Guys, I gotta bounce to another meeting. I gotta leave at 2:30. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. All right, this was good. This is exactly what I wanted. I didn't this is good. Maybe I can work on this. Maybe work on a single tier model, what that looks like, and how that all fleshes out.
Well, Live Fast, do you want to do that before I said I'd do that, but don't get me wrong, dude. If you want to do it, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks. If you have an idea, then you work on give me what you have on it, because I don't want to do something that and then have you provide more comments later on.
Okay. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will just get something done by the end of the weekend. I'll tell myself, and I'll just drop it in governance and tag everybody.
Okay. And then I'll add some more notes, so that way the next week we'll have an even more refined process of what this looks. The goal
can you do something though, Live Fast? Just because that document's so marked up and impossible to read. Can you just make a clean version of what you do? And then if you're going to do any additional comments, will you make the comments on that so I can track them?
There's also the other thing is that do you want me to just put this on Commonwealth? It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be like neat.
I don't think yet.
Yeah. All right. So I'll make a new document and I'll send you a link.
Okay. I made a new one too, but we'll work off yours. That's fine. Okay, guys. I got to go. Appreciate y'all. Cheers, friends.
All right, guys. See you guys later. Great job, Live Fast.
Sure.
I've got to bounce too. I got to work on some stuff.
All right. No worries.
All right. I'm going to drop some comments, by the way, on the IP stuff. I still have that on my list for today. So.
Okay. Yeah. Please do. I need input. As with anything, it's just I don't know what the right answer is. I have what I would like to see, but I don't want to speak for everybody. So the more people that chime in, the better it is, because I need I need the writing, the real writing of the exact wording. I would like to have that finalized because if we ever go to proposal, I want it to be there, so that way it's all up in front. So there's no second everything's done,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will get to that. I apologize for being slow. I'm actually really bad at keeping up on any text chats on pretty much everything. So I'm way better at visual stuff and in person audio, but I'm gonna jump on there and just see if I can put some stuff together.
All right.
I'm basically I don't care either way which direction we go, which I know doesn't help.
No, it's good and bad at the same time, because people are gonna look, because people look to you for well, what do you think? And then if you it's a blessing and a curse,
Yeah, I think the hard part is sparking the fire, but then trying to distance, you know what I mean? Because I don't want people to always look to me for guidance either, because it's well, I don't know any better than anybody else. It's this is, I think when me and St. John created this project, it was very much hey, let's just see what happens. It morphed into like way more than what we initially even thought it was going to be. And so it's kind of like, we want to see what it turns into too. And I don't really think, me or Sinjin ever had any like specific idea of how stuff would go. I think it was more like, hey, let's just put this out there and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've also been trying to take your explanation of how Mr. Modules suggests things where people are like, oh, we should do this. They're like, you can do that. Then how about you do that? So like a lot of the things I'm like, I would like to see this. I'm gonna do it, and then like hopefully like it gets like and like get it to the right people to get it done. So like that's a lot of what I'm trying to do right now. It's just like, oh, we want to do this. I'm gonna do it, and then if you guys don't like it, then like it's also like the downside is like if you guys don't like it, like feel free to write something better, but there's only if you don't, then like well, there's only so much there's so like if you don't like it, then like write something better, and if you're not gonna write something better, then like, well, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. When I kind of like seeing stuff work itself out too. Sometimes it is kind of nice to take a back seat and just see where people go. 'Cause, yeah, like sometimes if you're quiet, other people will start to come out of the fray, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I will put some comments in there for sure.
No problem. All right. Take care, dude.
All right, guys.
Good seeing you, CB. Live Fast, man, you're doing a bang up job there. Whenever I try and get caught up there, I marvel at the work that you've done and keep doing the great work, man. It's truly impressive.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It really is. You're like on the cutting edge of community growth here. Like Web3 community growth. You're trying now. You're putting together governance stuff. You're working on legality stuff. You're just jumping all across the board, which is cool.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Keep doing the good work, my friend. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try. All right.
All right, see you guys.
All right, be good, everyone. Take care.
See ya.
I'll just drop my compliments to Live Fast. I think you did a tremendous job. Sorry, it's midnight here again. But yeah, also I wanted to thank you for what you did with the newsletter. I still have the draft. I have the whole. Took me a while to put it on an app, but I've been a little bit depressed recently, so I could barely get myself to do my normal work. So thank you so much. I'm gonna find a way to incorporate the interview somewhere.
Just like, you just put it up there, just write it, and then like if it looks good, you just hit publish, and then you're like, all right, cool. Like if somebody reads this, like there's like a handful of people that subscribed, so somebody will read it. If I see all of a sudden if I get an alert that just says like, oh shit, like I got another, like there's a new article. Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I want to do it justice. It's also 1 hour 40 worth of 6 different people answering questions. So that can be quite difficult to put together without, giving up on the essence of the work that everybody did. Because you have 6 different personalities and you have to showcase all of them. So that's been a bit of a challenge recently with everything else. But yeah, it's great to see you doing the work. I also have a look over it. Attending anything has been a little bit difficult with the DAO punks because of the time zone. But yeah, I'm very happy to see you. Whenever I go on DAO punks Discord, you're always very active and good job.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Mina.
Yeah. And sorry, Double B, I interrupted you.
Oh, I was going to say, Mina, you're more than 100% correct with Live Fast, but you yourself, if it takes a few more weeks for the newsletter that you're working on, so be it. I'm sure it'll be wonderful when it's done. And either way, thank you for what you do.
No, thank you guys. And
All right.
Live Fast, just wanted to let you know that I understand how you feel, and you shouldn't. I mean, I don't think anybody wants you or would feel weird if you'd feel uncomfortable with the fact that you worked on this and now people want to ratify it. Of course, it's productive to discuss, but you shouldn't put your feelings on the sides because it's your work and you should be proud of it, even if it doesn't end up being picked up.
Oh yeah,
It's valuable.
Yeah,
So
it's also
I wanted to tell you that everybody appreciates your work and you shouldn't feel bad.
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
appreciate it. I've learned that I accepting feedback is great. I just like, there's also a difference between like, oh, we should do this, and like constructive feedback. I'm like, okay, well, like ideas need to be fleshed out, assess for practicality, and that's what I'm trying to do. But and like there's always some things that like I just I had an idea, and like like I said, I had this idea, I ran with it because it made sense. Practically, like a lot of people didn't like it. That's fine. We can adjust and adapt. Like let's flesh out some other ideas. See how they go. And if everybody seems to think that that's okay, like that works. The goal is just the goal is to have something like and have like clear direction. Because clear, like I mean, if it's just to try to get something in here, and so that way we can move on to the next thing, because the next thing we have, like the grants framework is getting revised because that is like nonsense, like problematic now, like in hindsight.
Yeah, I can see.
I
Wow.
I was so after the last grants meeting where we were just like, oh snap, we have to have another snapshot to like approve of the coordinate, and I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. I was like, it's administrative problems at worst. I was like, oh, like I'm like, oh, and I don't want to do it, but I'm like, we have to do it because like we wrote it there and we should follow it. But I'm like, we're revising this the next time. But yeah, all right, you should get some sleep. It's late. I don't want to keep you.
Yeah, you should. I don't know, have lunch or something. I don't know what time zone you are into.
Yeah.